Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to cover the remaining portion of insulin as pharmacotherapy of diabetes mellitus as a part of. So yesterday also we have discussed about insulin preparations, various types of insulin preparations. So those will include purity wise also various type of insulin preparations and insulin analogs also. So insulin analogs are comparatively newer agents. So yesterday we have seen about regular or soluble insulin and insulin zinc suspension, which is also known as lente, which is the combination of semi-lente and ultra-lente, and NPH or isofen insulin. So here in this table, duration wise, the classification of various insulin preparations and insulin analogs given, which is very useful to all of us. So rapidly acting, according to it, rapidly acting, short acting, intermediate acting and long acting insulin preparations. Rapidly actings are insulin Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin. Long acting insulin Glargine and Datamir. So these rapidly acting and long acting insulin preparations are basically insulin analogs. So if we go in detail, onset of action, why they are known as rapid acting? Because onset of action is 20 to 30 minutes. In case of Glulicin, 40 minutes up to 40 minutes. Peak in 1 to 1.5 hours. Here in case of Glulicin it is 1 to 2 hours. Total duration of Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin is same, that is 3 to 5 hours. Now these rapid acting agents or insulin, which are Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin, can be mixed with regular or soluble insulin and NPH or isofen insulin. So yesterday in case of regular insulin, we have seen regular insulin can be mixed with all insulin preparations or analog except two insulin analog, Glargine and Datamir. Now coming to the some detail of regular insulin. Onset of action 30 minutes to 1 hour. So here you can see it is 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes here. So depends on that they are known as rapid acting and short acting. So duration of action, if we'll see total duration, that is 6 to 8 hours, peak is 2 to 3 hours. It can be mixed with all except Glargine and Datamir. Some of the facts I'll repeat again and again. Intermediate acting, yesterday already discussed, insulin zinc suspension or lente, onset of action 1 to 2, peak in 8 to 10 hours and total duration 12 to 20 hours. NPH or isofen showing similar type of profile, time profile, and both can be mixed with regular insulin. So regular insulin, short acting, intermediate acting, intermediate type of or duration of action. So mixing of both can lead to longer duration of action. But you can remember here, the onset of action still in case of regular insulin is not rapid as compared to these three preparations. Long-acting insulin analogs, Glargine and Datamir. Onset of Glargine is 2 to 4 hours. Duration 24 hours. And they can't be mixed with any other insulin preparations. Why? Because of acidic pH or because of any other reason. We'll see in detail later on. So here you can see no peak is seen in case of long-acting insulin preparations or analogs, and that's why these two are also known as peakless insulin. Datamir, onset of action 1 to 4 hours, duration of action 20 to 24 hours. Similar, they can't be mixed with this. Now before jump over to insulin analogs, two terminology which is already mentioned by me or described by me yesterday: early postprandial hyperglycemia and late postprandial hypoglycemia. So which are the reasons regarding administration of insulin preparations? So they directly correlate with onset of action and total duration of action. Early postprandial hyperglycemia, that means after meal hyperglycemia is there even after administration of insulin. That is suggestive of late onset of action. So either they are peakless insulin, or in case of regular insulin, the time of administration should be earlier. Instead of half an hour, it should be 1 hour. And so there is onset of action of insulin and there are no chances of early postprandial hyperglycemia. Late postprandial hypoglycemia, extension of insulin action, that is suggestive of longer duration of action of insulin preparation or insulin analog occur late. Now about insulin analogs, they are prepared using recombinant DNA technology. Analogs of insulin have been produced which have modified pharmacokinetics on subcutaneous injection, similar pharmacodynamic effects and immunogenicity. So differentiating point if we are talking about, so all of them are having different, here spelling mistake is there, different pharmacokinetic profile is there, but similar pharmacodynamic effect is there and immunogenicity, because they are also considered as highly purified preparations because they are prepared by recombinant DNA technology. Another good features or advantages of insulin analogs are greater stability and consistency. So in rapid acting, we have seen Lispro, Aspart and Glulicin. So first of all, we'll see Lispro. So as the name suggestive of, you can remember like Lispro. So here something modification done at the level of lysine and proline. So that way also you can remember this insulin analog. So here which type of modification done, that is important. And another thing, everywhere if you see, there is modification in beta chain mainly. So you can remember that way also. So insulin Lispro produced by reversing proline and lysine at the carboxy terminus B28 and B29 position. It forms very big hexamers that dissociate rapidly after subcutaneous injection, resulting in a quick and more defined peak as well as shorter duration of action. So we have seen rapidly acting and as hexamer dissociate very early, and that's why rapid action, the reason for rapid action is this after subcutaneous injection, and these are known as the insulin with peak. Individual variability in absorption is minimized with Lispro, that is the advantage. Another is, unlike regular insulin, it is best injected subcutaneously 0 to 20 minutes before a meal. So, not immediately, but at 5 minutes before meal also it can be taken, 10 minutes also, 20 minutes also. Immediately after taking this, we can inject this because they are rapidly acting. In case of regular insulin, we have seen it is given 1 hour to 30-40 minutes before meal. Better control of mealtime glycemia and a lower incidence of late postprandial hypoglycemia have been obtained. So, advantage is better control of mealtime glycemia because immediately after taking meal, they start working, and because of shorter duration of action, they have late postprandial hypoglycemia. Using a regimen of 2 to 3 daily mealtime insulin Lispro injections, a slightly greater reduction in glycosylated hemoglobin compared to regular insulin has been reported. So 2 to 3 daily mealtime insulin Lispro is given because of shorter duration of action, frequency of administration that is frequent, but it is able to reduce HbA1c level as compared to regular insulin. That is the advantage. Fewer hypoglycemic episodes occur. There is also advantage. Now second is insulin aspart. So as the name suggestive of, some modification is done with aspartic acid. So which modification? The proline at B28 human insulin is replaced by aspartic acid. This change reduces the tendency for self-aggregation and time action profile similar to insulin Lispro is obtained. So because of this change, what happens? Low tendency or less chances of self-aggregation. If aggregation is more, then dissociation also will take longer time. So here it is less self-aggregation, so rapid action is there. And time action profile is very similar to that of insulin Lispro. It more closely mimics the physiological insulin release pattern after a meal with the same advantages which I have already described. Now, the preparation of insulin using insulin aspart is biphasic insulin aspart. So what is it? The 70:30 mixture of isofen or insulin aspart with uncomplex insulin aspart has the advantage of rapid and predictable onset along with intermediate duration of action. So one component is uncomplex insulin aspart and another portion added is either isofen or insulin aspart. Advantage we have discussed. It is called biphasic insulin aspart and can be injected twice daily just before each major meal. Glulicin, insulin glulicin, another rapidly acting insulin analog with lysine replacing asparagine at B23 and glutamic acid replacing lysine at B29. So lysine and glutamic acid. So the name given glulicin. Everything, the action, time action profile, which is very similar to that of insulin Lispro, rapidly acting. Particularly used for CSII. What is it? Continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion, which is given by a pump in new drug delivery system. We can mention it CSII. So it's a pump, but subcutaneously given. Glargine. So glargine and datamir we mention as longer acting insulin analogs. So this long acting biosynthetic insulin has two additional arginine residues at the carboxy terminus of B chain, and glycine replaces asparagine at A21. Here you can see the role of A chain. This analog remains soluble at pH 4 of the formulation, but precipitation at neutral pH encountered on subcutaneous injection. Depot is created from which monomeric insulin dissociates slowly to enter the circulation. And because of this slow dissociation, it is longer acting and pickless, we can say. Onset of action is delayed. Level of insulin are maintained for up to 24 hours. So, once daily administration, either at the early morning or preferable at the bedtime, is good. A smooth pickless effect, suitable for once daily injection, mostly injected at bedtime. Lower incidence of nighttime hypoglycemic episodes. So that is the advantage because of longer duration of action. Does not control mealtime glycemia, for which a rapid acting insulin or an oral hypoglycemic, that is the anti-diabetic drug OHA, is used concurrently. So as we are knowing, the onset of action is very late as compared to rapid acting and regular insulin, but they are longer acting, so they do not control mealtime glycemia. So for that purpose, along with this long acting insulin, either rapid acting or OHA is given. Because of acidic pH, it cannot be mixed with any other insulin preparations that we have seen in that table. This long-acting agent, glargine and datamir, never mix with any other type of insulin preparation. The reason is this. Insulin datamir myristoyl, that is the fatty acid radical, is attached to amino group of lysine at B29 of insulin chain. As a result, it binds to albumin after subcutaneous injection, from which the free form becomes available slowly. And the same thing is responsible for pickless action as well as longer duration of action. Action almost similar to that of insulin glargine, but twice daily dosing may be needed here. In case of glargine, once daily was sufficient, or sometime twice daily, depends on blood glucose concentration. Lavemir flex pen 100 unit per ml in 3 ml pre-filled pen injector. The purpose is not showing any commercial preparation of insulin or any other thing, but to show here the new drug delivery system or one of the device for administration of insulin, that is pre-filled pen injector. It is like pen and we need to push the plunger. So at the frequency of 2 unit of increment, the patient can achieve the insulin. Insulin degludec, that is not mentioned in table, remember that, but it is very necessary to include because very long duration of action. It is a new ultra long acting insulin analog with a flat plasma glucose lowering effect lasting for around 40 hours, suitable for meeting basal insulin requirement in type 1 and type 2 diabetic patients. We will see later, in case of type 2 also insulin is given, and in case of type 1 when oral hypoglycemic agent given, that also we have seen. After single daily injection, the day-to-day variability in response and risk of nocturnal hypoglycemia are less than with insulin glargine. So this is the advantage. Alternate day regimen, they have tried, clinicians have tried, but that was not successful. It has also been co-formulated with rapid acting insulin aspart. Obviously that is because to obtain rapid onset of action, that will take care of meal-induced glycemia. Now coming to the reactions to insulin. So these are, the insulin is such type of biological product, nowadays synthetic also or whatever is there, but the adverse reaction that is known as, or that is described as reactions to insulin. So adverse effect or adverse reaction or side effect of insulin, all you can put under the same heading in case of insulin. So which are they? So first of all, hypoglycemia, we have seen in long insulin preparations, long duration insulin preparation, hypoglycemia is the problem. The most frequent, most serious reaction that we are knowing, because not only hyperglycemia, but hypoglycemia can also lead to CNS manifestation, CNS depression, coma, and death of the patient. So it is also not the preferable condition, hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemic episodes are common in patients of labile diabetes in whom insulin requirement fluctuates unpredictably. Because of so many factors, most of the diabetic patients, they are not having stable blood glucose, but labile blood glucose. So in case of labile diabetes, there are more chances of hypoglycemia. And that's why before taking insulin, it is necessary to measure the blood glucose level most of the time or every time. Hypoglycemia can occur in any diabetic. The injection, like the conditions or reasons, injections of insulin, large dose of insulin, or insulin is taken but missing the meal after injection. So it is very necessary to set the time before taking insulin injection. Depends on onset of action. After half an hour or after 10 minutes or after 20 minutes, it is necessary to have meal to avoid hypoglycemia, or by performing vigorous exercise, increased demand, we can say peripheral utilization or consumption of glucose by muscles, so blood level will decrease. That is also the reason in case of diabetes of hypoglycemia. Symptoms can be divided into two: sympathetic, symptoms that is because of sympathetic stimulation, and that is because of CNS symptoms, that is known as neuroglucopenic symptoms. So sympathetic stimulation basically occur earlier. So because of sympathetic stimulation, we know what happened: tremor, restlessness, palpitation, anxiety, sweating, and many more occurs. That is believed to occur because of beta-2 receptor. Another neuroglucopenic symptoms, CNS, like dizziness, ataxia, visual problems, CNS depression, respiratory problem, and ultimately the coma, which is irreversible, we can say. So hypoglycemic death also possible. Reflex sympathetic symptoms occur before the neuroglucopenic. Warning symptoms. These symptoms are also known as warning symptoms. Especially the symptoms occur because of sympathetic stimulations are known as sympathetic stimulation. So these warning symptoms of hypoglycemia differ with different type of patients. So we are knowing nerves are mainly responsible for carrying sensation and all. So in cases of neuropathy, in advanced case of diabetes, there is already complication is there, and diabetic neuropathy we can see any abnormality in ANS or autonomic nervous system. Another term you can remember regarding this, that is hypoglycemic unawareness. So hypoglycemia is there, but loss of warning symptoms is there because of the same reason. So various disease conditions or because of administration of some agents like beta blockers, as we have seen, beta 2 receptor is involved in sympathetic stimulation and responsible for all these actions. So beta 2 blockers especially having more hypoglycemic unawareness and episodes of hypoglycemia as compared to beta 1 selective blockers. Irreversible neurological deficits are the sequelae of prolonged hypoglycemia. What is the treatment? Very first, in chronology of preference, the treatment I have written, which is already given in your standard book or reference book. Glucose or glucose yielding carbohydrate, sugar, which is available at home, our home. So this glucose is given 15 to 20 gram orally. So we are knowing it is an emergency condition, but if patient is conscious and can take orally, oral glucose administration is the best option. Yesterday we have discussed about the release of insulin, which is mediated by incretins, and it is possible when oral administration of glucose is there. If no improvement occurs, the same amount may be repeated after 15 to 20 minutes. If it is not possible to reverse or unconscious patient, then in severe cases 30 to 50 ml of 50% glucose may be injected IV over 10 minutes. Remember here oral glucose, increase the dose of oral glucose and IV glucose. Then next option is glucagon, 0.5 to 1 mg IV, or last resort, that is adrenaline, 0.2 milligram subcutaneous, may be given if there is no other contraindication to give adrenaline. Okay, so how adrenaline lead to hyperglycemia, alpha 2, beta 2 action, we have already discussed yesterday. So first reaction was hypoglycemia, second local reaction. So which are the local reaction and why they are known as local reaction? Because insulin is usually or routinely given by subcutaneous route, and in case of emergency IV it is given. It is not given orally. Liposome has been tried. Local reactions are swelling, erythema and stinging at the injection site, especially in the beginning. Lipodystrophy, that is the loss of subcutaneous fat. This is also important local reaction. And what is the reason of lipodystrophy? Frequent administration of same injection site. So better is to change the injection site frequently. So there are less chances of lipodystrophy. Third is allergy. Any type of allergy or hypersensitive reaction, it also depends on purity of insulin. We have seen porcine, MC insulin or human insulin, they are highly purified. There are less chances of allergy, and the insulin preparations prepared by recombinant DNA technology, they are also having less chances of allergy, but clinically it is not much proven. So chances of allergy or hypersensitivity is noted with each and every type of insulin. So erythema, here which type of thing can occur? Urticaria, rash and anaphylactic shock, laryngospasm, such type of immunogenic reaction occur. Edema, the reason for edema is sodium retention Why? We already know biochemistry. Now coming to the drug interactions. Drug interactions means the interaction of another drugs with insulin. So first, beta-adrenergic blockers that we have seen, warning symptoms, block by using specially beta-2 blockers. So with beta-2 there are less chances as compared to beta-1. But in general, you have to be careful with concurrent administration of insulin and beta blockers. Beta blockers can also can prolong the episodes of hypoglycemia. Thiazide, furosemide, these two are basically diuretics. Corticosteroids, oral contraceptives, salbutamol, that is selective beta-2 agonist, nifedipine, that is calcium channel blockers. So which different mechanism ultimately they reduce the secretion of insulin and elevate or increase the blood glucose level. Acute ingestion of alcohol can precipitate hypoglycemia by depleting hepatic glycogen, which is the storage of glucose that we are knowing, glycogen. So here you need to remember, acute ingestion of alcohol can precipitate hypoglycemia. So such type of alcoholic person need immediate administration of glucose. But if chronic alcoholism is there, person is taking alcohol for prolonged period, then because of compromised metabolic function, hyperglycemia is there. So there are chances of development of diabetes in chronic alcoholism. Acute, you can remember hypo, chronic hyper. Lithium, high dose aspirin, theophylline accentuate hypoglycemia with different mechanisms. Now coming to the uses of insulin. So in exam or anywhere if we ask about the uses of insulin, so every time student reply diabetes, diabetes. But as medico we should know this is not the proper answer. All of us are knowing insulin is used in diabetes mellitus. But we have seen various types of diabetes mellitus, also various situation, also other than diabetes or diabetic complications also. So we need to remember uses like this. So first of all, we'll see the use of insulin in disease itself, diabetes mellitus. So what is the purpose of using insulin in DM? Avoid symptoms due to hyperglycemia and glycosuria. Prevent short-term complications like infection, ketoacidosis, and long-term sequelae like various complications of DM, macrovascular complication, microvascular complications, CVS, retinopathy, neuropathy, nephropathy that we know about. So in all these conditions, for preventive purpose also insulin is used, and in treatment also it is used. We'll see later. There are some accepted criteria for adequate glycemia control when patient is on insulin therapy. That is about blood glucose level 90 to 130 milligram per deciliter, fasting, PP2BS 150 milligram per deciliter, glycosylated hemoglobin that should be less than 7%, like that. Now insulin is used in all forms of diabetes mellitus and is must for type 1 cases, because in type 1 there is complete destruction of beta cell or non-functioning of beta cell. Apart from that, post-pancreatectomy diabetes, gestational diabetes, that means in pregnancy or pregnancy-induced diabetes, and complications of diabetes. So mainly immediate complications are two, that is non-ketotic hyperosmolar, or decay, diabetic ketoacidosis. So in both situation also insulin is used. So you can see here in uses of insulin, you can mention like this. In type 2, when in type 2, because type 2 we have seen it is controlled with lifestyle modification as well as oral hypoglycemic agents. But in some situation, like when primary or secondary failure of oral hypoglycemic agents, some temporary situation, like patient is stable on oral hypoglycemic agents, but suddenly have trauma or infection or for undergoing surgery or pregnancy. So in such type of situation, temporarily patient is shift over to insulin for short period. So this thing you can remember. Check for other factors to start insulin therapy. Patient characteristic, age, status, then requirement of insulin. That is very much important. So with glucometer, patient can check the level of blood glucose, and according to blood glucose level, the requirement of insulin is calculated and then insulin is given. So to give insulin, there are two regimens. One is split mix regimen and another is basal bolus regimen. So first we'll see about split mix regimen. Here there is mixture of regular with lente or isofen insulin. Regular is short acting insulin, we have seen. Lente or isofen is intermediate acting insulin. So total dose, daily dose of insulin is calculated, and total daily dose of 30:70 or 50:50 mixture of regular and NPH or isofen insulin is usually split into two and injected subcutaneously before breakfast and before dinner. So the total dose is calculated and it splits into two. So either it is given in the ratio of 30:70 or 50:50 before breakfast and before dinner. That's why it is known as split mixed regimen. Advantage: only 2 daily injections are required, but what is the problem? Post-lunch glycemia may not be adequately covered and late postprandial hypoglycemia may occur. So that is because of onset of action, regular and intermediate acting that we know. So it will take care of breakfast and dinner, but it will not take care of post-lunch glycemia, and there are also chances of late postprandial hypoglycemia because of longer duration of action. Here you can see the intensity of insulin action in case of split mix regimen. First of all, we will say about split mix regimen. So in split mix regimen, it is the combination of regular insulin and intermediate, that is NPH. So it is administered here before breakfast. So it will take care of breakfast or mediated glucose, or intensity of insulin is high. So it will take care of breakfast mediated glucose level. But what will happen? Lunch mediated or post lunch mediated glycemia, that is not controlled with it. Again, it is repeated just before dinner. It will take care of dinner mediated glycemia. So you can see here, and the action will start from here. So it will remain for longer period, which is the reason for late postprandial hypoglycemia. Okay. Simultaneously, we'll see for basal bolus regimen. So here, in case of basal bolus regimen, you can remember rapid acting insulin analog is given and long acting insulin analog given. Rapidly acting we have seen Lespro, Aspart, Glulicin, longer acting Glargine, Detemir. So rapid acting insulin or insulin analog is given thrice: before breakfast, before lunch, and before dinner. So it will take care of glycemia mediated by breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, what's about longer acting agent? In Glargine also we have seen single dose is given at bedtime here. So action start from here. It is peakless. It's not like peak action, rapid acting. It is peakless. So sustained plasma concentration of insulin occur here till the same time. It will take care of 24 hours. So it will take care of basal level of glucose. So this is the basic difference between split mix regimen and basal bolus regimen. So directly from here also you can compare. This is compromise post lunch and late postprandial hypoglycemia, frequency of administration twice before breakfast and before dinner. Here you can all these three taken care of plus basal bolus regimen that will take basal glucose level, or patient can be euglycemic over the administration of Glargine. So the disadvantage you can see here is the frequency of administration, rapidly acting given thrice and long acting at bedtime. So here twice administration, here 4 times per day. So glycemic control is very good in basal bolus regimen, and many clinical trials suggestive if person remain euglycemic over the period of time or for more or prolonged period, so there are less chances of development of various complications or long-term sequelae of diabetes will be taken care by this basal bolus regimen. But here patient compliance is not good because of so much frequency of administration. Basal bolus regimen we have already seen, more intensive, it needs 3 to 4 daily injection. Long acting Glargine injected once daily either before breakfast or before bedtime for basal coverage, along with 2 to 3 meal time injections of rapidly acting preparations either Lispro or Aspart. The dose of basal insulin depends on constant, or it remains constant. It is responsible for maintaining round the clock euglycemia. The problem or limitation or disadvantage that is more demanding and expensive. Less complications long term, as we have seen before. Another thing, more chances of hypoglycemia because of longer duration of action. So it should be avoided in patients, vulnerable population we can say, in this case like children and elderly, as well as the diabetic patients with labile blood glucose level. Diabetic ketoacidosis or diabetic coma, that is the another indication of insulin. So first of all, we have seen the first use of insulin is diabetes mellitus, and in that we have discussed about the various regimen, how to start and how to maintain. Everything we have discussed in case of diabetes mellitus. Now another indication for insulin is insulin emergency. So first we'll see about diabetic ketoacidosis, also known as diabetic coma. So it occurs mostly in IDDM or insulin dependent diabetes due to inadequate or no insulin replacement. Infrequent in type 2 DM. The most common precipitating cause is infection, others are trauma, stroke, pancreatitis, stressful conditions, and inadequate doses of insulin. So, because of all what will happen, insulin lack will be there, and hyperglycemia and other consequences of insulin lack we will see in this figure. Insulin lack, hyperglycemia, glycosuria because more amount in blood that is secreted in tubule and urine, osmotic diuretic because presence of much more glucose in the tubule. So osmotic diuresis because of that loss of all electrolyte, and because of that is a sequelae another intracellular potassium depletion will be there. That will lead to hypotension, shock, tachycardia. Another consequences of insulin lack is ketosis that we have seen. This is the catabolic action, insulin having anabolic action. So because of that, ketone bodies or ketosis produce. So this will lead to acidosis, loss of fixed cations in urine, loss of water, dehydration, and because of dehydration, hyperosmolality of blood will be there. Loss of fixed cation in urine again result in loss of electrolyte and dehydration. Ketosis, another symptom, that is vomiting, that will also lead to dehydration. Impairment of glucose entry into the brain, as we have discussed yesterday, ketone bodies block the, okay. So because of that, there is impairment of consciousness occur, or at CNS level various complications will be there. These are the various symptoms like vomiting, hyperventilation, osmotic diuresis, dehydration, hypotension, shock, tachycardia, impairment of consciousness. Now the principles of treatment remain the same irrespective of severity. So first of all, insulin is given because hyperglycemia is there. Which insulin is given? Insulin regular or plain insulin is given. How? Here at UG level not necessary to remember the all doses and like that. But if it is the matter of regimen or some treatment, so at that time as a part of that it is necessary to remember this. In practical also you will learn the same thing. Dose, bolus dose 0.1 to 0.2 unit per kg IV is followed by 0.1 unit per kg per hour infusion. The rate is double if no significant fall in blood glucose occurs in 2 hours. So monitoring is required for that. Usually what happens within 4 to 6 hours blood glucose returns to 300 milligram per deciliter. So why you need to remember 300 milligram per deciliter? Because some treatment strategy or management guideline will be changed or modified at this level. Then the rate of infusion is reduced to 2 to 3 unit per hour. Here 0.2 unit per kg is given. Here 2 to 3 unit per hour is given. Maintain till patient becomes fully conscious, and routine therapy with subcutaneous insulin is instituted. Second, intravenous fluids, we have seen dehydration and loss of electrolytes, and so depends on that. Intravenous fluids given. Normal saline is infused IV initially at the rate of 1 liter per hour, then reducing progressively to 0.5 liter per 4 hours. After the blood sugar has reached to 300 milligram per deciliter, 5% glucose in half normal saline is the most appropriate, because blood glucose falls before ketones are fully cleared from the circulation. So remember this. Why 5% glucose is added with saline here? Because the condition is hyperglycemia and here we are adding 5% glucose. But the reason is this. And when to start this? When blood sugar level occur 300 milligram per deciliters. Also glucose is needed to restore depleted hepatic glycogen. KCl, 300 milliequivalent of potassium may be lost in urine during ketoacidosis. Serum potassium is usually normal due to exchange with intracellular stores. But what will happen when insulin therapy is instituted? Ketosis subsides and potassium is driven back intracellularly. So dangerous hypokalemia will be there. Hypokalemia induce arrhythmia and death can occur because of this complication. After 2 to 3 hours, it is appropriate to add 10 to 20 milliequivalent per hour KCl to the IV fluid. It's better to go for measuring serum potassium level and then to administer. Sodium bicarbonate or lactate, because acidosis we have already seen. Phosphate with caution if required, because acute can lead to tetany also. Antibiotics, because in causes we have seen. So precipitating factors should be removed. Another emergency is hyperosmolar non-ketotic hyperglycemic coma. So as the name suggests, you need to remember hyperosmolar. So osmolarity increase, non-ketotic, that means no ketosis, and hyperglycemic, that means glucose level is important. It is characterized by high blood glucose level more than 600 milligram per deciliter and serum osmolality more than 320 milliosmolar per liter with deteriorating mental status. Elderly type 2 patients are affected mainly with this hyperosmolar coma. Remember that. Appears to be precipitated by the same factors as ketoacidosis, leads to dehydration and hemo concentration over several days. So treatment modality is very similar to that of DKA. But here you need to remember about the hemo concentration, and for that heparin is administered. Insulin requirement lower, less potassium replacement needed. Alkali usually is not required. Patients are more prone to thrombosis due to hyperviscosity and sluggish circulation. Prophylactic heparin therapy is recommended because of hemo concentration. Mortality is high as compared to DKA. Remember this. Treatment of precipitating factors and associated illness is vital. Now another problem with insulin is insulin resistance. In the definition of, it is one kind of tolerance, you can say. So here higher dose of insulin or any drug is required to produce the same effect, that is known as resistance. So it is one kind of tolerance, but in case of insulin, the term is used as resistance. Relative insulin resistance is integral to type 2 diabetes mellitus. Another reasons are advanced age, obesity, sedentary lifestyle, and PCOD. Bigger adipocytes, fewer insulin receptors. Most type 2 diabetics having faulty transducer mechanism linking insulin receptors. So here this signal transduction mechanism is involved rather than the problem with insulin receptor. Exercise increases insulin sensitivity. Pregnancy and oral contraceptives also can lead to reversible resistance. Other rare causes, they are mainly related to hormonal. Hypertension with relative insulin resistance is a part of metabolic syndrome. Acute insulin resistance, that is immediate, we can say. Whatever we have seen, that is chronic. Develops rapidly and short-term problem, causes infection, trauma, surgery, emotional stress, induce release of corticosteroids, other hyperglycemic hormones which oppose insulin action. Second is ketoacidosis. Ketone bodies and free fatty acid inhibit glucose uptake by brain and muscle. Insulin binding may increase, resulting in insulin resistance. Treatment of acute is to overcome precipitating cause and to give high doses of regular insulin. Remember that in cases of emergency, regular insulin is preferable. Insulin requirement comes back to normal once the condition has been controlled, and that's why it is known as acute resistance. Now newer insulin delivery devices, just name you need to remember, don't go into detail, but superficial concept you should have. So insulin syringe, here pre-filled insulin syringe is there. So insulin is already inside the syringes. So no need to fill up with cartridge and all other thing. So it is easy to carry, and at a time person can adjust the dose and can take the injection. Pen devices, it is like fountain pen, plunger is pushed, and at the increment of 2 unit insulin is delivered. So according to requirement, person can take. Inhaled insulin, so here various insulin inhalation methods or devices were there. So few of them has failed because of some pulmonary complications, but this is successful. This is known as Technosphere insulin. So insulin is inhaled in case of type 1 and type 2 DM. Very detail is given, but just you can remember insulin can be inhaled also. Another insulin pump that we have already seen, CSII, continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion. So portable infusion device is connected to subcutaneously placed cannula. Implantable pumps. So here electromechanical mechanism which regulates insulin delivery from a percutaneously refillable reservoir. So which type of pumps? Mechanical pumps, propellant driven, and osmotic pump. So here everything about insulin at your level we have covered. After the diabetes mellitus chapter, anti-diabetic drugs is over, we will plan to have student seminar. So be touch with the topic and be prepared for that. Thank you very much.